Hey guys, it's Carmine Bianco of WagerTalk.com, and this is another episode of Stoppage Time. Sorry we had some technical glitches on that first one, so hopefully some of you guys are going to be able to tune in and see this. The Prez is not with us today as he sets up his brand new studio and gets some tech support there. But with us are our regulars, Paulie Laguretos and Nick Borrman of both of Wager Talk. Guys, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Enjoying some hot weather, getting my golf in when I can, and doing some swimming with the 8-month-old. So things are good.
Paulie, how's it
Nice.
going over there? I know that you were earlier. You're sporting the Panathinaikos jersey, and you're
Yes.
watching that game there. What's it look like so far?
It's doing great. It's also one of my plays for today. It's going great. The weather is great here in Greece. We have a heat wave coming up in the next couple of days. So yeah, it's gonna be a hot weekend.
Well, it's good. It's good. It's a scorcher here. It's actually Canada Day here as well. So after this show, I look forward to getting out there and maybe not barbecuing because it's like 31. If you guys know Celsius, 31 is pretty hot, and a couple cold beers. But regardless, it's a big weekend, a big midweek of yeah. You've already started, man. Big midweek of EPL, La Liga, and Serie A. We're going to discuss all three. So we're going to jump right into it. And we're going to go to Nick first. And we're going to talk about two teams that are playing extremely well right now in Serie A. You've got Atalanta and you've got Napoli. Atalanta have now won 6 straight Serie A games, scoring an unbelievable 21 goals. And they're holding on to 4th place right now, which is a Champions League spot. Napoli continue to win. They've won their fifth straight league game, and are playing well defensively. They've only allowed 3 goals thus far through those 5 games. So this is one of those offense versus defense games. Nick, what's your take on this?
I appreciate you giving me this game. I love the Atalanta team. I know we've been texting group chats about them a lot, and I actually previewed their game last week against Lazio and was able to win that one. So this should be an awesome game. I really, like I said, really love Atalanta right now. They really do look unbeatable. It's too late to make any sort of run to catch, of course, so you don't have any worries there, Carm. But I know you talked about before you kind of hold your breath when they end up playing each other. But I think we're going to see them play well for 90 minutes here. I think their spot in the top 4 is probably already wrapped up. If you look right now, the top 4 teams, Atalanta being the bottom of that pool, is 9 points clear of Roma. So not that something can't happen with still 10 games to go, but it's going to be hard to change those top 4 standings. But they are alive and well in the Champions League, and so I think we're going to see them finish the season strong. I think they're going to come into this game. They are scoring goals, as you mentioned, like just unbelievable amounts. I mean, they've scored 3 or 4 goals pretty much every game right now. The team's Napoli, as you mentioned, is a team that is also playing well right now, but they were really, for me, a hard team to predict this year. They're deep, they have plenty of talent, but they did struggle in the middle of the season to score. I think it was between October and November, that 2-month stretch. They won just 2 of their 11 games between league play and Champions League, and they were scoring. They only scored 1 goal or less 8 of those 11 games. So it's weird to see a team of this caliber go through a stretch like that, and they were tough for me to. I was struggling to get on them, and I was struggling to bet against them. I was kind of picked the wrong time to do so. So I was avoiding them for a while. During that time, they had 8 draws, which normally isn't bad. But if you look at the teams they were drawn against, it was Torino, Spal, Genoa, Udinese, and even Genk in the Champions League. So they just were offensively just not getting anything done. After the holiday break, though, and really the last 2 months leading up to the pause, they started winning again. They played well since the restart, winning the Coppa Italia, of course, over Juve, with the draw against Inter, and then that over 2 legs, and then they won the penalties against Juve. Plus, they've had 2 easy league wins against Verona and Spal. So they're starting to play again pretty well. They're back to their talent level. They're doing very well defensively. But honestly, I just don't trust them here. And maybe it's maybe it's not as a matter of I don't trust them as much as I just really like and trust Atalanta. And as well as Napoli is playing on the defensive side, as you mentioned, the opposites here, I have a hard time seeing Atalanta being, slowed down. Right now, they're so fast, they're so vertical. Over the course of 90 minutes, they're just wearing teams down. The last game, Ilicic was questionable, so I was a little hesitant on them last game, but he ended up playing, and I think he's going to be fully healthy and ready to go this game, which is a big key to them. And I have to believe that they're going to have to give Muriel some more minutes after 2 more goals against Udinese. The guy has 15 goals this year, and he's really being played mostly as a sub. But with the other attackers, Zapata and Ilicic, it's obviously kind of tough to see, which one of the 3 ends up having to be left out. And then you have Gomez also up front, which, he's not the scorer. He's got, I think, 5 or 6 goals this year, but he's really that setup guy and gets the other guys open. So that attack up front is very lethal. I've had a lot of fun backing their games. I've hit correct scores in their first 2 games since the restart, and then I jinxed myself in that last game. It was 3-1 against Udinese. I texted you guys in sometime after the 80th minute, and I said, let's get this another end here. And, of course, they literally scored 2 minutes after I texted that, but that's okay. Again, another game. I have to be careful. I like the over here. I like Atalanta. I like both teams to score. I like a lot of different ways to play this game. So I'm just trying to really figure out which one's the best. I'm definitely going to go with Atalanta. They're plus 110 right now, around on the money line. You could also take them minus a quarter for a little bit less risk. And I also am looking at both teams to score and over 2.5. The combo market there is around minus 125. Of course, if I think both teams are scoring, then you could also look at the both teams to score and Atlanta to win combo, which is plus 260. And that's basically what's happened in all 3 games with them is both sides are scoring. Atlanta's not a defensive team by any means. They just outshoot you and outscore you. So they'll let you score 1 or 2, but they'll probably score 3 or 4. So I know you tweeted at me yesterday that I better have another correct score for this game. So I'll go ahead and give that out and try to get it. There's 2 options here you can take. 3-1 Atalanta plus 1350 or 3-2 plus 1900.
That's a lot of goals.
I don't see this as a 1-1 or even a 2-1. 2-1 is the lowest price at plus 875, but again, I think Atalanta is going to get 3 here. They actually they drew 2-2 in the first game against each other, and honestly, Napoli was the better team in that game, but that was back in October. Atalanta wasn't really playing well at that time, and they're definitely playing the best football of the year for them right now. So I think it's Atalanta here. I think they're going to score goals. I think both teams are going to score, and a 3-1 or a 3-2 is the correct score I'm going to go with. So be careful. Don't go too crazy on this one, just because there's a lot of different ways I like them, but you got to pick your spot. Types are good on this one.
Yeah, this is it's definitely a toughie, and I do agree with you. I enjoy watching this Atalanta team. They're into the next round of the Champions League, and I don't want to. I want to draw some parallels with another team, with an EPL team, but I'm not talking about being on the same level, but in how they set up their lineups, and that's a Liverpool. And by that I mean, Liverpool are the most successful when they have that regular starting 11 with their trident up front of Firmino and Salah and Mane. They're just a deadly team. They tend to that offensive attack tends to lose some of its bite when Klopp rests a couple of those guys or all 3 of them. And with Atalanta doesn't have as big a bench. They don't have that depth on the bench, so you generally see that same lineup week in and week out, like you said, with Gomez and Zapata, those guys. So, and they've just stuck with it, and they haven't suffered any injuries. So, knock on wood, that continues with this team. And as long as they keep winning, they just keep trotting that same 11 or a short, small variation of it, and they keep winning. So, it's one of those things that. You just got to stick with the team that keeps winning. You'll see it. I always say when a team continues to win, you keep taking them. You ride the streak because it only ends once, and then sometimes once it does end, you've got to sort of fade them the next time out because sometimes there's that bit of a letdown. But I completely agree with you. I'm not sure about goals in this game, but I will take Atalanta to win here. So no card from me. but I'm going to throw this to Pavlos to see if he's got one fired up for you.
I actually, I was telling you guys earlier when we were talking at the chat that I have to red card myself here. I just want to take the jinx out. I don't know how you say it in Canada or the USA, but once I gave you that red card in that Sevilla game, I think it was Carmine. I found red cards in a large percentage of my matches of the plays that I give out. There are always red cards that are ruining my plays. I don't know what's going on.
Are you trying to say that? Are you trying to say that me as an Italian has somehow influenced the red cards in the games that you have taken? Come on, we're past this match fixing stuff already. Come on, let's not discuss
something happened. Something happened. I don't know how you did it, Carmine, but you did something. So I don't want to give a card to Nick on this match. Napoli actually burned my 5% the other day because I'd just like to say a couple of things about Napoli. Since they changed the coach, they had Carlo Ancelotti that is now coaching Everton, who are winning 2-0, by the way, right now. Since the change in coach, they got Gattuso. Gattuso was a legendary midfielder for Milan. He was a very tough guy, a very tough player, and he infused that toughness in the game to Napoli. That's why Napoli, since the change in coach, which was around December, I think, they're much more compact. They don't concede a lot. They don't score a lot. A couple of years ago, there were, just like Atalanta are right now, they were scoring goals left and right. They had a triplet up front, three guys that were really, really talented and really, really fast. And they were scoring goals left and right. But that's not them in 2020. They've been much more compact. They score less. They concede less. I'll just pass on this match. I just trust Nick Borrman, or should I say Nick Scoreman, because he has predicted a lot of correct scores, and we should praise him for that.
Absolutely. So okay, so you know what, I'm gonna take the after the show, I'll take the pins out of the voodoo doll, and then you should be fine through the weekend, Pavlos. So
please Carmine, please.
so don't worry about it. All right, so we're gonna move on. It's and then this weekend is huge, so we'll discuss what's coming up this weekend a little later on in the show. As you guys see on that screen, I just want to point out Nick does have a 5% soccer blowout tomorrow. You can pick that up for only $12 at wagertalk.com. Head over there, click on his capper page, and you can find that play. We also have a July special, and trust me, there are just a ton of games in July and daily, because La Liga plays daily, and then you've got the EPL Serie A. Everyone is trying to squeeze their season into the month of July, so there are a ton of games, as well as some FA Cup semifinal games as well too. That regular package is usually $199. You can get that for $149, $50 off when you use the coupon code July50. So pick your favorite soccer handicapper with the initials CB, and you can take $50 off his package by heading over to wagertalk.com. All right, usually it would be the Prez here. Like I said, he is setting up his new studio, and he's got he's got IT over there right now, so he can't make it today, but he'll be back for the Friday show. It'll usually be him throwing it to me for the next game, so I'm going to go to Carmine for the next one. And the newly crowned champions Liverpool travel to Manchester to face last year's champions Man City. Both these teams are locked into the Champions League spots and playing out the season. So I'm going to look at this game very quickly, and then we'll answer a couple questions and then head over to Pavlos. One of the first things I got to say about this game is it's a classy move by Pep and the Manchester City side. They're going to They're going to have the guard of honor, it's called, as the players enter the pitch, where they'll all line up and welcome the newly crowned champions. But I believe the pleasantries are going to stop right there. They're going to want the 3 points. This game is being broadcast everywhere. This was a highly anticipated game, which unfortunately has no meaning in the standings. Obviously, a win by City will secure that second spot. It will put them 14 points up on fifth place Man United with only about 18 points, 6 games, 18 points left up for grabs. So it locks them into a Champions League spot, pending obviously appeal of their suspension for next year's Champions League game. I'm looking at the total here, mainly because I have a feeling this one is going to be a little more open than the games normally are. And even so, 7 of the last 10 in league action between these two have gone, have produced at least 3 goals. 15 of the last 20 in league action have produced 3 or more goals. The total here is sitting at 3 flat. And again, because this has no implications, but it is being broadcast all over the world, neither team is going to want to get blown out. They're going to want to win. There's a bit of bragging rights on the board that to pick up the 3 points. So I have to believe that we're going to see the best lineups for both sides out there on at the Etihad on that pitch. And aside from the fact that these are 2 of the top 5 defensive teams in the EPL, like Liverpool's number 1, I think they've only allowed like 21 goals or something like that, and City sit 5th at about 27, 29, somewhere around there. I still have to believe again this is going to be played a little more open than they normally the games normally are. So I'm going to lean to over 3 on this one. I know he doesn't have a red card, but I'm going to head to him first anyways. Pavlos?
I totally agree. There is no reason for this match to be a closed match with things to care about. It's the title is pretty much decided. Manchester City will probably also finish at the second spot, even if they lose. I do think that they will. They really want to win this match just to prove that it's unfair that we're like almost 23 points behind Liverpool in this title race. I think they have something to prove, but I have to say also that we find Liverpool at plus 250, which is probably the highest odds that we'll see them for quite a while. So if you're feeling crazy, or if you feel like, I don't know, if someone has an inner hunch about Liverpool winning this one, plus 250 is also a nice option. But I think the totals is a pretty safe bet. I mean, there's no reason for this match to be a low-scoring one.
No, I get it. And I forgot to mention, and I was just jotting it down right now, my exact score prediction in this game will be Man City 3-1. So yes, I am taking Liverpool to lose their second game of the season. They did lose 3-0, I believe, to Watford at Watford. I'm not sure how they even lost to Watford, but you're getting 14-1 on your money if this game finishes 3-1. So that'll satisfy 2 things: like this game going over 3 goals and hitting that exact score at 14-1. Nick, thoughts on this game? Red card, yellow card, no card?
Nope, no card. You guys both hit it. There's nothing. I don't want to say there's nothing to play for, but there's nothing to play for as far as the table goes here. These teams are where they're going to be at the end of the year, and normally this game, it means everything in the table, and right now it doesn't. So I think you'll have these guys having more fun with the game, playing a little more open, trying to score, trying to have it would be great if the fans were there. Then it would be a lot of fun, but I think it's just going to be an open game. Well played. I'll throw this out there for David Tabati, who was in the chat and asking why I like the both teams to score market, but that's another way to get this game a little cheaper on the total, is the combo both teams to score and over 2.5 is only minus 115. So if you think both teams are going to score and you like the total, that's another cheaper way to play it. And I always kind of look at that when I'm not 100% sold on the total the way it is, 3. I do like the over there, but I think it could also push. So I'll try to kind of buy it down there and get that 2.5 number with the combo of both teams scoring, which I mean, let's be honest, both teams will probably score. So I'm no card for me. I like your play.
All right, awesome. And speaking of scoring, I'm pretty sure I'm getting an update here, only because I have the over in this game, that Arsenal is about to. Yeah, we've got a goal in the Arsenal game. So this is sort of stoppage time, in-game wagering almost type of show. But Aubameyang has netted a goal in the 33rd minute, and it's 1-0 Arsenal in that game. So let's get some more goals going there. All right, to my good man in Greece who is waiting for this show to end so he can go cleanse himself at the beach. We did ask him to send us some pictures of the view of the beach, which he did not send, but we're going to let that one slide for a little bit. So I'm going to go to him, and I kind of like this game as well, too. So it's the West Ham Chelsea game. Now, West Ham have lost both their games since the restart, and they're in serious jeopardy right now of relegation. They're at 27 points. There's a bit of a logjam near the bottom. So they're in need of points, but that doesn't always equate to wins or draws. They're where they are because of that. Chelsea have won all 3 games since the restart. One of them was the quarterfinal FA Cup win over this past weekend on Sunday over Leicester. So where are we going here, Pavlos?
This is another London derby for West Ham. They played Tottenham in the previous match. They weren't very good. They lost by 2-0. It could have been a lot, just a bigger scoreline. West Ham, they clearly have a problem in scoring right now. They haven't scored any goals in 3 matches after the restart, and they actually create chances, but they can't put shots on the target. And the reason is very obvious, because they spend a lot of money to bring Sébastien Haller from Frankfurt this season, which is a very good and very capable striker, a very good forward. He can play the ball with the head. He can play the ball with his feet. He's very talented. That's what West Ham were missing all these years, a very good striker, a heavy striker, a talented striker. And they got it this season, but he's injured. And he's been injured for quite a while now, and his absence is more than clear in the offense of West Ham, because they do have some creative midfielders that create a lot of chances, but the guys that are substituting for Haller are not very talented. They're not as talented. They also had pretty weird schedule to restart the season. They played against Arsenal, against the Wolves, and against Tottenham, which is not the ideal way to restart after almost 3 months of inactivity. So Haller will miss this one as well, most likely, and that's why I simply cannot trust a team that hasn't won. They've won like one of their last 14 matches in all competitions. One of their last 13 matches. Let's take a look at Chelsea. Chelsea have been much more healthy. They looked great so far. As you said, they won all 3 matches after the restart. They beat Manchester City, which was a pretty bold play, if I recollect. You guys told me that I might be crazy to bet on them last week's show. I told you that I truly believe it, and they did. They won by 2-1 at home. They beat Manchester City. It was a bit.
That was a good call. Very good call there.
To be clear, we didn't call you crazy. We just said we didn't have as big a cojones as you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that was exactly I really like Chelsea here. The odds are not very good. Actually, they're pretty low on them to win. So I don't think that West Ham will remain scoreless for the 4th consecutive match. I think that West Ham will score, but I think that Chelsea will eventually win. So in my eyes, it's both teams to score and Chelsea to win. So goals from both sides and something like a 1-2, a 1-3. The only thing that is holding me back is that Chelsea have won only one of the last 5 matches in that venue. West Ham have won 3, and the other one was a draw. So, but still, I think that Chelsea, they play some really nice, really good soccer right now, but their defense is not to be trusted. And even though they made some nice additions for next season with Timo Werner um, from Red Bull and Hakim Ziyech from Ajax, it's all good up front, but their defense, they still need, to reinforce their defense a little bit, because with Rudiger and Christensen, you can't go, too far. So yeah, I think both teams will score, but it's Chelsea for me on this
All right,
one.
I'm going to go to Nick first on this one while I celebrate the Granit Xhaka score for Arsenal to go up 2-0. Nick, red card, yellow card, or no card?
I would say no card. I maybe I'll go yellow only because West Ham. I don't know. They're awful, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't score again. So that was the only portion of the yellow, but definitely the side is Chelsea here. I don't see a lot of value right now. It's at -1 all the way up to -130. So if it hasn't already, it's going to click to -1.25 as far as the side goes any second. So unfortunately, I would say there's not a ton of value left, but Chelsea is definitely the only side I would play in this game. And honestly, Pulisic has just been killer for these guys. It was the first game back, they were trailing 1-0 against Villa. Didn't look like anything. And as soon as he came on, he made an immediate impact, and he played great against City. So it's good for for American soccer to see a guy like that just thriving right now in the Premier League. It took him a little while to come into his own, but he really looks like a great player for them. So I'm riding him. I think he's gonna pull them through. While I say that and go to you, Carm, I'm gonna throw out a prop on him. But hang on, I want to look at the odds first.
I'm going to stop you for one quick. I'm going to stop you for one quick sec on the prop, and I'll tell you why. Is I believe that Pulisic will not play today. He did. I know he left. He did leave that game with a bit of a knock or an injury or whatever. But when I was scouring a lot of the team news last night, there was mention that he may not be in the lineup today because of the injury that he picked up in that FA Cup game on Sunday. Or so if it. But if you're taking him to score, they always have that option on there that you can click on and say void my bet if the player does not start. So
he is. Yeah, I guess we have to make sure he's starting, right? But I'm trying to find his number right now.
So while you look up that one, I'm just going to. I'm not giving Pavlos a card here. I do not believe West Ham is going to score. They could, but I don't believe they're going to score. I'm going to take an exact prop here on Chelsea to win 3-0 at 10-1. Reason for this is this Chelsea team is playing fantastic right now. That FA Cup one just sort of solidifies what they've done so far since the restart. And they're putting their best lineup out there week in and week out. And I'm telling you, two of the teams you need to watch out for. One of them was my 5% play yesterday is Manchester United and Chelsea. Unlike last year, if you remember EPL last year, that race for 4th, 5th, and 6th, they crawled to the finish line. These teams were draws, losses. It seemed like nobody wanted those spots. This year, there's a race. You've got Wolves, you've got Man United, you've got Chelsea, and they're all playing fantastic football. So I expect nothing other than like a tough, fine performance by Chelsea today. The Blues are going to go there. West Ham's going to have to step it up. They're going to have to play one of their best games of the season, if not their best game of the season, if they want to beat this Chelsea team. But Nick, let me throw it back to you.
Plus 145, not great. I was hoping for maybe 2-1, which is probably wishful thinking. So, and knowing that he might not play, or if he is a little injured, he'll probably come out. Probably not worth it. I'll pass on that one. But I think Chelsea's the side here.
And I'll mention in-game wagering in a minute. But if you're taking it at a book that allows you to take a goal scorer, on the confirm page, they usually have something that says, or you can click on, that says void if the player doesn't start. That's mainly meant for in cases where a guy is on the bench and may come in the second half. And if you still like him, you can still take him, and you don't click on that void. But in my case, I want to see the guy out there in the starting lineup from the get-go. So I always click on void if he's not in the game, because I'm not hoping that he comes into the game. Because in all honesty, if they're up 2-0 in the second half, there's not many changes that are offensive changes. They're more defensive changes. So you may not see that player out there. But Nick's bang on. Like I watched that Pulisic, a couple of those. Like he's just phenomenal. If the U.S. team can surround him with some other talent, they may make that run back into the World Cup. We know that they're in the World Cup in 2026 because it'll be hosted in Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. So the Canadian team will finally be in that World Cup. I'm sporting the Toronto jersey because today is Canada Day. And to answer David Tabati's question about our live in-game, I'm going to discuss with Nick after the show where we can go, because we're going to have to close this show up soon because we've got the NASCAR show coming up and I've got to produce that one. But there's a couple games on Saturday if Nick is available. I also know that it's the 4th of July, but you guys, honestly, in the U.S. don't start drinking at 10 a.m., I'm going to hope. So we may do.
Usually pass out.
Yeah, we may do the Manchester United Bournemouth game, or we could do the Lazio Torino game, which is the Derby del Mole, which is the Turin Derby, which is another big game. That's at 11. That'll get you guys out of here by 12:30 in front of the barbecue and drinking some beers. So I'll talk to Nick and we'll set that show up. Okay, final thoughts here, guys. We're going to go to a consensus pick. We threw this one around between us, and we finally came up with Real Madrid to win to 0. So they're favored by a goal and a half, and they play Getafe on the weekend. I believe that game is that on Saturday or Sunday? I believe that is on Sunday. Pavlos, any thoughts on this Real Madrid game? Was it the Real Madrid game or Atletico? You'll have to excuse me.
Oh, it's Real. It's
Real.
It's Real Madrid.
And Atletico Bilbao. Sorry, not Getafe.
No, it's Real Madrid against Getafe, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm showing something completely different on my screen, unfortunately. So I think I may have thrown you guys a curveball on this game. I believe. So, or I wrote this down incorrectly, which I believe I may have, unless I've got the wrong schedule up here. So, well, give us your thoughts on Real Madrid while I scroll through this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here it is. Real Madrid Getafe on Thursday. Sorry, I thought it was on the weekend. That's what threw me off.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, there's so many matches. It's only natural to, lose track, of one match. So, if this match took place before the break, I wouldn't trust Real Madrid that much because they were caught up in the Champions League, in the Copa del Rey. They had they had a month of really bad form with 2 wins in 7 matches. They were not in very good shape. Right before the break, they lost to Betis on the road. But since the restart, they've been pretty great. They've only conceded 2 goals. They're always great at home, even if there's no fans in there. They're always really strong, one of the strongest teams in the world when they play at home. About Getafe, I'd like to say that I really liked them throughout the season, but I'm not very fond of them since the restart because they only recently won their first match, and it was probably because Real Sociedad were really mediocre in that match. Prior to that, they had 3 consecutive draws and a loss to Granada, and it wasn't even a tough schedule. So they did score in 4 of their 5 matches since the restart, but they didn't really have, the toughest of oppositions. Okay. Real Madrid they are leading the La Liga right now with 71 points. Barcelona is 1 point behind them. So They know that any slip up will probably cost them the title. So I don't think they'll kick their chance to get a nice win against Getafe. And in order to do so, they really need to look at the defense, and to win 2-0 is a really realistic
and
bet.
that is plus 110. Nick, I know you feel the same way on this, so I've got to wrap up the show, unfortunately. Nick, unless you have a couple quick thoughts.
No, I mean, 3 straight against Getafe. They've held them scoreless. They've Real Madrid, that is. They've kept 3 clean sheets in 5 as they've come back. And they got the best defense in the league right now, ahead of Atletico, believe it or not. So everything here to me screams Real Madrid just winning this thing with a goose egg on Getafe's side.
All right, awesome, guys. To our viewers out there, I apologize for the little delay today and the technical difficulties. We'll be back on Friday. It'll be myself, Nick, and of course Prez will be hosting the show, and Kevin Dolan. 26 games on the weekend, and we'll cover 3 of them. Nick Borrman has a 5% play going tomorrow, blowout special. Pick this up, $12, wagertalk.com. I really love this game as well too. I'm already down on it. Or $50 off a 30-day package. Regularly $199, you can get it for $149 using code July50. Guys, all the best. Good luck with your plays this weekend, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday.